Hey, Raymond.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, Jack, can you hear me? Yeah, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm not hearing this. Yvonne, you want to do a sound test?
Hey, hi. Hi, can you hear me? Can
Yes.
everyone hear
Okay.
me? Is
Yes,
the
thank
volume
you.
okay?
Sure, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Just waiting for Chung and Quynh to dial in.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Can I check that you are able to see me on the
Yes,
camera?
I can.
Okay.
Very clear, thank you. Excuse me. So Yvonne, for
Mhm.
your piece, right?
Yeah.
So just to confirm, you will come in after Jack. Does that
Yes.
flow work, right? Because
Mm.
kind of switching between him, you, and then back to
Yeah.
him, I think is a bit
Yeah.
disruptive, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and disrupts the
Okay.
flows. So we should just let each of you kind of go
Mhm.
through what you need to go through, and it's
Yeah.
smoother, right? Yeah. So is Tao on the line?
I
Hey,
think not yet. There is an Incorp SG Digital here though. I don't know if you want to rename that.
Who's actually controlling that one? Sorry, who's that?
It's me.
who's me?
I can't hear you. Sorry. Is it Tao?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's better. Yeah.
So what, Raymond, what is it? I do all my thing and then Yvonne will come in. So instead of going back and forth.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
So I just want to confirm in terms of I mean, Tao is controlling the slides, right? So which slide is actually Yvonne's one? So that's the one I'm a bit.
None. She doesn't have any slides. She's just
Oh,
going to be speaking quickly, couple
Okay.
minutes.
So
Yeah.
your Chung's one is quite clear, right? You just go through
Yeah.
all his slides. So
Sorry, Jack. I've actually quickly prepared like 3 slides just in
Oh, you did? Okay. Did you send it over?
Yeah,
Yes.
just
yeah, Yvonne, you need to kind of back
sorry.
up a bit.
Yes, I
Because
did. I
you're
did. So it's down.
no, what I mean is you need to back up a bit because your face is cut half.
Oh, is it
You need
too
to just go back. Yeah, okay, this is
sit back?
maybe a little bit more.
You tilt
Little
your
bit.
camera downwards a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the screen is like
I
your
can't.
chin.
Okay, I can't actually see myself though. Is that normal? I can't actually see myself. I can't, and that's why I can't.
When you click view at the top right and you put gallery, because there's one hide self view. So you click view on the top right. The hide self view should not have a tick next to it.
Oh, okay. Show
Can
self
you
view.
can you see yourself
Yes,
now?
I saw that.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Great.
I can.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So you just tilt your camera. Sorry, Chung was saying down or up. So okay, okay, I think that's fine. Yeah.
That's all right. Is it
Yeah, that's
blocking
better.
as
Yeah,
well?
that's better. Yeah. Right. Okay, so your slides that you given to Tao will come after Jack's, right? Is that Tao? That's
That's
how
right.
you arranged it, correct?
Yeah. So the event
Okay.
agenda, I don't know if you want to change it a little bit. Because this morning I saw the event agenda
No,
and
don't worry
so
about that. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Once we go live, we just run with it. I don't think at this stage the participants are
notice,
gonna not gonna hold us to that word for word, right?
Okay. So I'll just go through and then Yvonne and then Jung.
Exactly. And then
Okay.
Quynh, right?
And then Quynh. Yeah. Okay.
I haven't seen Quynh Darlin yet. I hope she has no problem with the Zoom. How do you want to call her? Maybe I'm not sure whether
Yeah. Call her.
maybe yeah. And then there is guys, there's a timer on the top right of Zoom. I don't know whether you guys can see it. Right? There's like there should be, so that can kind of help you to moderate as you're speaking in terms of how long it's taking you. All right.
I don't see the timer though. Jack,
If you go to view, there should be something that says time or something like that. Yeah.
show meeting timers.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've got show. So I think everyone should
Okay.
just, yeah, so that you know, we don't have people kind of standing up showing 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
Right. I think it should be fine. I mean, you guys are familiar with what you need to speak about, and I don't think there'll be an issue. Once the flow starts, I think it'll be okay. I think the only thing is, so we've got the 3 questions for the
Yeah.
Q&A, which I've sent out, right? If you, I think answering briefly is okay, right? And then they can obviously reach out to you subsequent to the webinar. The ones where they ask the questions live, Tao, you will be sending it in a group, is it? Whereas they check as the participants typing questions. Sorry, is Tao there? Or maybe she's on the line.
I think we've got participants joining that can hear us. So
Or I thought they should just mute all the participants first, right? No, they...
Oh, testing. I've just put on my mic. Is this actually better or is just now all right?
No, it's okay. I think this is good.
Okay, thanks.
Mm.
You think we should all change our name as well to include company name at the back?
That's what I did. Just put BN.
Change that.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. For all the participants that are currently dialed in, we would like to request that you amend your Zoom name to your name and company name. So what you do is you click the participants icon and then just change your name using the rename option. It shouldn't take you more than 10 seconds to do that. We will be starting the webinar in about a minute. Thank you very much. Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone on the call. We would like to welcome everyone to this webinar titled From Singapore to Vietnam, Smart Strategies for SME Expansion and Compliance. My name is Raymond Lim. I'm the host and moderator of this webinar and also the CEO of Vanguard Financial Services in Singapore. I understand that we have close to about 90 companies who have signed up, which shows the great interest Singapore companies have in doing business in Vietnam. A very big thanks also to our partners from ASME and the Singapore Chamber of Commerce Vietnam for supporting this event, and also our esteemed panelists from Incorp Global, Baker McKinsey, and Vietcombank. A quick introduction of our panelists. we have Mr. Jack Nguyen, who is the CEO of Incorp Vietnam. Jack is a Vietnamese Canadian. He is waving at you, and a trained CPA and Vietnam CPA. He has more than 25 years of professional experience across the US, Canada, and Vietnam. He's highly skilled in accounting, finance, investments, and HR, and has worked with many FDIs coming into Vietnam. We also have Miss Yvonne Tan, who is representing the commercial team from Incorp in Singapore, and she has a lot of experience spanning across many industries, both in the public and the private sector. She works closely with Jack from Incorp Vietnam to support your expansion into Vietnam from Singapore, and also the other way around into Singapore. We have Mr. Sek Yi Chung. He is a senior partner of international law firm Baker McKinsey. He is based in Ho Chi Minh City and assists many foreign investors in making investments in and doing mergers and acquisition in Vietnam. And last but certainly not least, we have Ms. Pham, who serves as the corporate service manager at Vietcombank Kee Dong branch in Ho Chi Minh City. She assists FDIs with account services, digital payments, foreign exchange trades, and also financing solutions. Now, before we move on to the panelists, I wanted to give some updates on why it is becoming increasingly attractive for Singapore-based companies to invest in Vietnam. So we can start off with the slide. Thank you. Yeah, can we put up the slide, please? Thank you. Okay, let me start, right? So why Vietnam? As many of you know, Singapore and Vietnam announced an upgrade in their G2G relationships to a comprehensive strategic partnership in March 2025. Both prime ministers have traveled to each other's countries and signed this agreement. The second thing is there has been a deepening of cooperation agreed in both the digital economy and renewables between Singapore and Vietnam as part of this CSP. The collaboration is very critical now because many companies are actually pivoting from the US markets given what's happening, and we will talk about some of these tariffs during the presentations. So this expansion of collaboration in ASEAN, and with the recent ASEAN meeting in KL, that also shows that a lot of companies are looking to move out of the US in terms of doing business. Some statistics: Vietnam is Singapore's 9th largest trading partner at about 3.4 billion. And there are more than 3,000 companies invested in Vietnam currently. So for some of you who are looking at opportunities in Vietnam, some of the key industries are manufacturing and processing, real estate, and renewables. What's very important for companies coming in is that there was a recent passing of a Resolution 68 in May 2025, which my colleagues will speak about more during the talk, but this is essentially to facilitate foreign investment into Vietnam. And lastly, SMEs should also know who to work with to capitalize on these regulatory reforms and get to know trusted partners in Vietnam that they can start to do business with, start to incorporate their companies, and also open accounts. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Jack, who will run through what Incorp Vietnam does and also some of the updates that he's seeing on the ground. Jack, thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Good afternoon to all the audience who are participating in this webinar this afternoon. Quick introduction: my name is Quynh. I'm the current CEO of Incorp in Vietnam. Incorp is a multinational corporate services business service company spanning all across Asia, Middle East, and in the Americas. We specialize in doing market entry, licensing, accounting and tax compliance, and HR, payroll, and immigration. As you can see, we've been operating for over 30 years in Asia, and we have thousands of happy clients that we serve every day. This is slide is a full suite of the services that we are doing or carrying out for our clients. Our sweet spot is medium and small enterprises size clients that are operating across Asia and across the world. We are currently in most of the major markets in Asia and continue to expand across the world. So we will be making announcements in a short while, in the next few weeks, for expansion in other major markets. Next slide, please. Sorry. With me on today's panel is Ms. Yvonne Teo from Incorp Singapore. I'll give her, she'll speak for a few minutes about what Incorp Singapore does and how she can assist you. Over to you, Yvonne.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good afternoon, business owners. I'm Yvonne from the Singapore office of Incorp Global and a Centium company. So while we are actually considering internationalization and expanding to Vietnam, do feel free to reach out to collaborate with us and let us know which of the other areas of business that you need support in. As you know, like what Jack mentioned, Incorp Singapore is a Singapore headquartered and very Asia-focused kind of corporate service providers. We offer full suite of services from accounting, tax, ESG reporting, transfer pricing, audit, recruitment, and even valuation if, let's say, you need it. So we are able to help your company in the company matters, to keep the company matters in check, because we all know that corporate governance is actually important when there is actually an expansion. Right, so who we are, a little bit about who we are. Incorp is actually an Centium company, and Centium is a larger platform that we are part of. So Centium is actually located in 22 other markets as well, across many other jurisdictions, even BVI and Cayman as well. BVI and Cayman, Dubai, Middle East, and also Dell. Incorp Global is backed by Hill House Investments. You may be familiar with Hill House Investments. They are leading institutional investors, one of the largest in the world. Yeah. And our clientele span across startups, SME itself. We help companies actually go for listing in IPO. And after they are listed, we also support them with share registry services. So we are very pleased to say that we are able to provide end-to-end service, and no matter what scale and what stage of growth your company is in, we are able to partner you as well and support you all the way. Yeah, we also work closely with government agencies, family offices, and of course, we also have the personal wealth side of the business that can support you. Yeah. So in a nutshell, Incorp Singapore and Incorp Vietnam, we actually work hand in hand to enable a smooth process for your company. So while working with us, you'll find that Incorp is not only a corporate service provider, but because we have the capabilities of providing everything end-to-end service, we are very happy that we can actually come together to speak to you and engage with you. So next time, please keep Incorp in mind when you need our services. And if you're actually looking to expand to Singapore, we are also here to help you. Thank you.
Yeah, now we hand it back to Jack. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. Let's transition over to Vietnam market, and I want to spend next 5 to 10 minutes to talk about Vietnam. Why is Vietnam such a great country for foreign investments, especially investments from Singapore? As some of you may know, Vietnam opened its door to foreign investment more than 30 years ago, and over that period of time, Singapore has been on the top 3 list of countries, foreign countries that are investing in Vietnam. And why is Vietnam a good place to invest in? Geographically, it's the biggest ASEAN country that's connected to China. as well as being landlocked, and it's half the country is coastal line with access to the main shipping lanes in Asia Pacific. Since opening its door to foreign investment, Vietnam has grown in the range of 6 to 8 to 10% GDP growth every year. In 2024 alone, foreign direct investment into Vietnam is $38.2 billion US dollar. The total import and export turnover in Vietnam in 2024, according to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, is almost 800 billion US dollar in 2024. And when you think about that, to give you a perspective, back in the mid-90s, Vietnam trade, or FDI, was under 50 billion US dollar. So that gives you an idea of the magnitude of growth of Vietnam trade over the last 25 plus years. Why is Vietnam such a great potential? It's ASEAN's fastest growing middle class. Over 90% of Vietnamese are literate, and it's a huge market size of just over 100 million people. And manufacturing is the leading economic industry in Vietnam, and many countries are setting up their manufacturing in Vietnam in the past 20 plus years. Many of you have heard of the China Plus One over the last 5 years or so. And the Plus One is usually associated with Vietnam, where foreign companies are shifting away from China to set up in Vietnam, or setting up in Vietnam in addition to their manufacturing setup in China. If you look at the right side of the slide, that gives you a picture of all the free trade agreements that Vietnam has entered into in the past 20 years. Vietnam is a signatory of many free trade agreements with many countries in Asia, in Europe, with the free trade agreement with the EU, as well as the CPTPP, a free trade agreement with countries along the Asia Pacific region. So basically, Vietnam is open for business for countries that may want to invest in Vietnam. Next slide, please. Okay. This slide gives you an idea of the steps to take if you are interested in opening up in Vietnam. The first step is to choose a business option. What company structure do you want? Many companies, foreign companies that want to enter in Vietnam, can decide if they want to open either an LLC, limited liability company. This is more for small and medium companies, or if it's a bigger company, they may elect to open a joint stock company where shares are issued to the shareholders, or they can just open a rep office where you cannot take part in sales activities, but you can open up a rep office to research more about the market and do a more feasibility study before opening a legal entity. And the next decision you need to make is, where do you want to open in Vietnam? Vietnam is commonly divided into 3 major regions, in the northern Vietnam, southern Vietnam, and in central Vietnam. During the first 15 years of Vietnam's opening, many companies do open in the southern region of Vietnam, in the commercial capital of Ho Chi Minh City, and all across the related provinces in Vietnam. But recently, in the past few years, more companies, especially companies that are doing business with China, are opening up in the northern region of Vietnam, where the border is closer to China, and where it's easier for the ecosystem to be connected with China's supply chain. So once you decide on the location you want to open in Vietnam, then you need to do what's called application for an IRC, which is an investment registered certificate. This is basically a business plan that you use to apply to get an IRC. And then after that is approved, then you need to get a second certificate, which is called Enterprise Register Certificate. And once that is approved, then you're off to the race and you can start hanging up your sign and start operating your business with all the other steps associated with it, such as getting a tax registration done, opening a bank account, and getting the company signs up. So those are pretty, a high level, the steps you need to take to open a company in Vietnam. And of course, because when a company is a foreign registered company in Vietnam, then you also need to make sure that your accountant and your tax is in compliance, that you need to get an annual audit done. And all these, all these services are provided by InCorp, of course. Next slide, please. This slide gives you sort of like a big picture of the regulatory requirements once you are starting to operate in Vietnam. I won't go through all of these in detail, but of course, there's the regulatory requirements for accounting and financial reporting to the government on an annual basis. You need to be complying with tax, whether it's personal income tax, corporate income tax, or the VAT, value added tax, if you're selling, when you're selling goods or services in the country. You got to make sure that your labor compliance is properly taken care of. And if you're hiring expats or foreign employees, you need to make sure that you arrange for a work permit or a temporary residency card for your expat employees. Next slide, please. Okay, to the left of the slide, we have a table overview of the tax incentives that the government is offering to the manufacturing industry. The biggest tax incentive is a preferred corporate income tax rate of 10% for 15 years. The nominal income tax rate in Vietnam right now is 20%. But if you're in the manufacturing industry and you're setting up in Vietnam for the first time, then you get the benefit of 10% income tax for 15 years with a 4-year tax exemption, followed by a 50% reduction in payable tax for the subsequent 9 years. So it's a very good tax incentive to attract manufacturers in Vietnam. And value-added tax is also lower for the manufacturing industry. Depending on what you're producing and exporting, the value-added tax could be anywhere between 0% or up to 8%, whereas the value-added tax currently right now is at 10%. I want to take the next few minutes to talk about the new Resolution 68 that Vietnam has just passed in the past month or so. And this really is a game changer for Vietnam. Vietnam, as all of you know, is still a communist country, and in the past, the government recognized state-owned enterprise as a leading economic segment of the country, of the economy. But with the new Resolution 68, the government recognized the private sector as a leading economic segment of the economy. And that really is a game changer. For foreign investment, it represents a clear and compelling signal. Vietnam is open for business, not only in terms of access, but in creating the kind of stable, rule-based environment that foreign investors are increasingly demanding. One of the strongest aspects of Resolution 68 is its renewed focus on improving Vietnam's regulatory framework and government's environment. Investors, especially those with long-term interests, they value predictability and transparency. So Resolution 68 calls for a digitalization of administrative system, which is a big step forward for the Vietnamese government. Digitalization of administration system, reducing red tape, and more efficient licensing procedures. and more transparent, and more improved transparency in public sector management. So these changes directly affect day-to-day decisions of foreign companies choosing where to allocate capital. The second big aspect of Resolution 68 is the new channels of capitals that will be available in Vietnam, especially in the banking sector. Resolution 68 will allow for issuing of bank loans based on the cash flow of the company or business, whereas in the past, bank loans were given based on the asset collateral that the client can have. And this will really benefit the small, medium companies that may not have the collateral asset, but they can prove the cash flow moving forward. Resolution 68 is a big step forward for the Vietnamese government. The important thing now is the implementation of Resolution 68. I mean, it may sound great in theory, but we'll all need to see how it is implemented going forward. Next slide, please. And that completes my presentation on behalf of InCorp. I'd like to pass over to back to Raymond, who will introduce Jung. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you, Jack and Yvonne, for that really insightful, information for the companies. And now I would like to hand this over to Mr. Sei Chung, right? Senior Partner for Baker McKenzie. Okay, Chung, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Raymond. Hi, my name is Chung. As briefly introduced, I'm a Senior Partner of International Law firm of Baker McKenzie. Actually Singaporean, but I've lived and worked in Vietnam since 1999. Baker McKenzie's international law firm of offices in the region, well, certainly Vietnam and certainly Singapore as well. And basically, we help foreign investors do foreign direct investments, as well as M&A transactions into Vietnam. In terms of industry, it's really been quite a wide range. No surprise, anything that's sort of manufacturing or logistics or real estate related. But looking at some of the questions that we've gotten, then yes, I would also say that anything from agribusiness to healthcare to education, retail, we have experience and ongoing transactions and advice in that space. Next slide, please. Yes, I think to answer an earlier question in the chat box, the presentations will be shared thereafter. Okay, so this is what I intend to cover in the time period given to me. There's quite a bit of content in the slides, so I'll move with some pace. And again, the slides will be shared thereafter. Okay, so next slide, please. So I'm going to touch briefly on some of the investment trends we see pre and post tariffs. Next slide. It's slightly amusing that after the pandemic, when we talked about, sort of investments into Vietnam, everything was, post-pandemic and what's happening. These days, I think we talk about pre and post tariffs. Okay, but anyways, very quickly, I think Vietnam, and as you heard from previous speakers, overall, its growth trend is upwards. We're not saying there are no challenges or issues, but by and large, there's a lot of opportunities, all right? I think it's great that Vietnam has had sort of stabilization in the leadership, and these guys have a vision, and I think they are also really pushing ahead for the country to develop. I mean, just quickly, as you can see in the item on the right, yeah, we've been seeing growth in these particular industries, for example. Next slide. Of course, then President Trump announced on Liberation Day those eye-catching tariffs imposed on Vietnam and countries and their long-standing trade partners around the world. There's no point to get into the mathematics or the politics of that discussion. Suffice to say that it caused a lot of anxiety in Vietnam when those tariffs were mentioned. As already said, Vietnam has done something very well. Indeed, they have done well to attract investments into manufacturing, increasingly moving up the value chain, exporting to US and other major markets, and investing into infrastructure, investing into upscaling of workers, which are all great things, by the way. However, it also caught the attention of the current administration, which says that, well, there's a bit of a trade surplus with the US, and hence the reciprocal tariffs. Okay. So I would just say that there's been a lot of discussion and dialogue amongst the business community, with authorities, with regulators, with policymakers. I think the nub of it is going to be, this is how it's going to be seen. Yes, there's anxiety. Yes, there's concern. Yes, Vietnam is going to negotiate, and I think they're currently in the second rounds of negotiations. And I'm sure everybody's hopeful that Vietnam will come back with something that's no better than the current tariff rates that's been proposed. Okay. At the same time, be quite blunt. It's also a time for Vietnam to take stock, a bit of a wake-up call. All right. For us, sitting in Vietnam for a long time, we'll say this: great opportunities in Vietnam, great challenges in Vietnam as well. Okay, and indeed, there are many things that the government needs to do, especially speed, clarity, transparency around approvals or licensing processes, in particular for foreign investments. Okay. So that's one of the messaging that we've given and continue to give to the government. And in fact, as Jack has pointed out, we like to believe that the leadership is taking at least policy steps in the right direction, and Resolution 68 is one of them. As therein, the government, sort of puts a bit of a commitment and an agenda, an initiative to say that we're going to reduce the amount of red tape and have approvals to be more streamlined. The other thing that's happening, and this is, I think, again, the item on the right, is the messaging. And what we see our, I think, clients and industry doing is adapting. US is the US. That will be the big market, and that will continue. Having said that, and Prime Minister has also said the same thing, the US is not the only market. Okay, we need to be. So in Vietnam, businesses, we need to be looking at other opportunities, other jurisdictions, whether it's India, Middle East, South America, not to mention China. So I think there's this whole mindset of adapting, a whole mindset of diversification. When we talk about supply chain, everybody's very used to the idea, oh, diversify risk, can't all be made in China. So let's have the supply chain, let's have manufacturing somewhere between, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, etc. Okay. And now we also have diversification in terms of you can't have just one big customer. You can't have just one big USA as your only buyer. We need to diversify. So I think that's one of the broader mindsets. Adapt, diversify. Next slide. Okay, I mean, this is just to say that notwithstanding all the challenges, by and large, and thank goodness, Vietnam is on an upward trend. I think the reasons have been already shared earlier, but I just want to sort of reiterate that I think Vietnam, having settled its leadership and they're really dynamic. You can see that they're pro-business, and if they can implement and move fast, then yeah, I think the growth trajectory will continue. All right, next. Okay, just take a quick glance at this to see who are the leading investors in Vietnam. Of course, whenever we point out that Singapore's #1, so I would say that a lot of MNCs come through it. But anyways, just to say that we are amongst the leading investors. You can see in some of the sectors that create attention. I'll just point out at this point that the population of Vietnam, yeah, that's really the resource, the asset. Because with that population and continue upscaling, these will be your customers, your partners, your employees, your workers, and with that growing middle class, certainly more discerning in terms of quality goods and services, looking at how to find value, and the ability to upscale the value chain in the products and services that Vietnam can deliver. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is broadly around FDI, market access for foreign investors. Next slide. Okay, some key takeaways. So starting from the top left corner, as Jack has mentioned, indeed, Vietnam is open for business. but just bear in mind that foreign investment is highly regulated. Okay, I'll just use Singapore as a quick contrast. Set up a company is so quick, and after that, you decide what you want to do. For those familiar with China, Vietnam is more on the China side, which again, Jack did cover. All right, setting up companies require an approval process and all that. You can't simply say use, a law firm's address as a registered address. Okay. All right. I always say this: budget for time, cost, effort, and headaches. Everything will take time. Everything will take a bit of cost. Okay. But like I keep saying, the opportunity is Vietnam. The headaches is Vietnam. Just make sure that you get the right advice, whether through good service providers here or other folks that you can trust. Nothing stays the same. Take nothing for granted. Lots of devils in the details, and I'll be touching some of them. Okay. Next point is that no, not next slide. Okay, but it's all right. Next point I just want to say is that, thank you. So foreign direct investment is project specific, business specific. Okay, you have to tell the government, I'm in this location, in this province, doing exactly this or that. You need to be specific. Why? And the answer is on the right-hand side, because not everything is open 100%. Manufacturing, go ahead, 100%. But some things are subject to joint venture requirements, foreign ownership caps, let's say in the telecom space. Some things are subject to minimum capital contributions, like hospitals and clinics. I think clinics about $2 million US. Okay, so just remember this: market access conditions and restrictions. Not everything is open 100%. In some cases, you might need to put in minimum capital. In some cases, your foreign ownership level is capped, and in some cases, you're simply not allowed to do the business. One example, foreign investors cannot engage in the drug distribution activities. All right, and where do you find all these conditions and restrictions? You find them in Vietnam's 2007 WTO commitments, and that's the key place. On that particular note, it's already mentioned, Vietnam, one thing that's been good is that they've entered into a lot more other treaties and agreements in the past few years. And in some cases, they are meant to actually enhance market access. I'll give one example. On the retail side, every subsequent outlet is supposed to be subject to this economic needs test, which is discretionary and clear. Is the government saying, do we need another luxury handbag shop? Because of CPTPP, that is supposed to be abolished for CPTPP members. But having said this, I would say that no one has really put that to the test, okay? So again, big picture points. There are market access conditions and restrictions. The new treaties do deal with it. Whether or not the government implements it, I would say is a bit of a case-by-case basis. Next slide. Okay, just quickly in the legal framework, I think on the top left corner, I've pointed out some of the treaties that Vietnam has. And again, you can look at this from the lens, not just from a tariffs point of view, but also in terms of market access, okay? And then bottom left, these are the key laws: the enterprise law, there's a company law, investment law guiding all foreign investments, and then competition law. Bear in mind, Vietnam is a competition law, and competitive behavior, merger filing, that's all covered. And if you go into the public company space, there's a securities law. Okay, now on the right-hand side, Jack did cover the part about the IRC and ERC, so I won't go into it. I would just add that if you are doing this by your investments by way of M&A, then bear in mind there is an M&A approval and there's also merger filing, all right? Not triggered in all cases, but this is something to look at. So another key takeaway is just bear in mind that whenever you do any deal or transaction in Vietnam, there's always a third party, and that's the government. Okay, they love giving approvals. All right, next. Okay, I think I have already largely touched on this. Yes, I have. Okay, but it's just to re-emphasize that not everything is open for 100%. In some cases, JV. In some cases, you need sub-licenses. So I think, yes, that's on the bottom right-hand corner. So I would just use this as an example. Vietnam did open its door because of the treaties. One thing they had to open the doors for was, in general, import trading, wholesale retail activities. To be quite blunt, they were not exactly keen to open that door. Okay. So for investors today, they can engage in sort of distribution retail activities. However, they're subject to a business license. This is a sub-license. This is after your IRC and ERC, okay? And it's kind of notorious that a business license is hard to get. Our sort of inside running joke is 9 months to never, all right? Has this caused anxiety and pain? Yes, it has. Have we given feedback to the government? Yes, we have, okay? And especially out of the anxiety and discussions and dialogues coming from the Trump sort of reciprocal tariffs, I like to believe out of a recent matter that perhaps the government is getting a bit faster in giving out these licenses, okay? They know they have to help the foreign investors come in rather than sort of hold them at the door. Okay, next slide. Okay, I don't think I need to touch on this. It was already covered earlier, short of saying that this kind of licensing process does take time. Next. Yeah, and this is the ERC, which signifies the incorporation of the company. Next. Okay, yep, I already touched on this one as well. And then the key messaging is there. The government is always a third party to the agreement. So if you're doing an M&A deal, you're buying majority, you buy minority, all right? Bear in mind that you have to take into account and do an assessment as whether or not you're subject to merger filing. And that is issued by the trade authority and to also to consider whether you're subject to a M&A approval, and usually short answer is yes. And which means that all these things will just take time for deals. Next slide. Next. Okay. Oops. Can you just go back to that slide a bit? Thank you. All right, the other thing, some other practical stuff, maybe you've heard earlier, you need to submit a lot of documents, legalization, consularization, they take time, okay? So that's why we say factor in time. Bit of good news, Vietnam tries to improve with e-government and some of the things you can do with online submission, but you still need physical papers in some cases. All right, I know that you might see that bullet point around issue of Chinese passport. I know we're speaking to a largely Singaporean crowd, but I'll just say this, okay? Practically speaking, yeah, once the government sees the Chinese passport, the so-called E-series with the 9- line, they generally will not accept those folks to take up position of a legal rep. Okay, next slide. Corporate forms, next slide. I'll leave it to you guys to read this at your own leisure, but I think here are some key takeaways, all right? Vietnam has two main corporate forms, limited liability company, joint stock company, all right? The key messaging here is that they can be quite different and they can impact the way that you do a deal, okay? Now, if you're setting up a 100% foreign-owned entity, which perhaps most of you will be doing, then yeah, you might be setting up a single-member limited liability company, okay? If you're doing an M&A transaction, then you're looking at the target that you're trying to invest into. Then just be sure to ask this question, whether they are LLC or JSC. Why? I'll just give one quick example. If you look at the last bullet point on the left, simple majority decisions, super majority decisions. For the LLC, is 65% and 75%. For the JSC, it's more what you're probably accustomed to, 50% simple majority, 60% supermajority, okay? So in short, if you are thinking that, oh, well, I can come in, I get 51%, I have simple majority, let's discuss, let's negotiate. If the target is a LLC, your 51% does not even enable you to have simple majority. Okay, so that's just one illustration. Devil's in the details as usual, but just bear in mind there are two main corporate forms here. Next slide. M&A process, next. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in detail. I'll just say that for those of you that are looking to do acquisitions, buying shares from existing shareholders, going to subscribe for for new capital in a target company in Vietnam, all the steps of an M&A deal. If you're accustomed to it, by and large is the same in Vietnam. Okay. Much as we say there are differences, also bear in mind that your experience, your expertise in Singapore would also hold true here. That's all we're trying to say. Having said that, I think you've already gotten by now that you need to look at certain details, whether it's the type of entity that you're getting into, whether the business lines that you are trying to do, all right? Maybe some things are open, maybe some things are not. And then government approvals, okay? These are usually the key things to sort of think about, for a Vietnam M&A deal, maybe stuff that you don't think so hard about when you're doing a deal in Singapore. Next. Okay, I'm not going to go into this except to say that, as usual, it could be an equity deal, buying shares, or it could be an asset deal, all right? So next slide. Again, not to go into detail, but still a key takeaway is this, is that when you're looking at, sort of an M&A transaction and investment opportunity, it could be onshore, in particular, if it's all Vietnamese shareholders, company in Vietnam. But who knows, you might also have an opportunity to do the transaction offshore. So let's just pretend I'm Singaporean, of a Singapore company, I've invested into Vietnam, and who knows, maybe you are buying shares of me, the Singapore company. So you're investing into Vietnam indirectly by buying a Singapore company, okay? So all these are open. Now, just sort of touching very quickly on the questions, I think somebody had a question that alluded to, oh, can I do things on a cross-border basis? And the short answer is yes, okay? If you're just selling products into Vietnam from Singapore, yes, go ahead. You're providing certain services on a cross-border basis in general, yes, go ahead, okay? All right, next slide. I'm not going to touch the next slide. So Jack has already touched on this, so we're not going to touch it. Suffice to say that, tax laws are also being looked at. All right, I think that we're implementing regulations, and I'm sure that we can share with you more information if you guys are interested. Next. Okay, I think that sort of brings me to the end. So next slide. Just some links to some of the Baker McKenzie resources, which you can look at later once the slides are shared with you. Okay, thank you.
Great. Yeah, great. Thanks, Chung. I think, after hearing from, Jack and Chung, we know that there's a lot of stuff to navigate, and, obviously finding the right partners there to guide you and advise you is very important, right? And obviously the bank that you're going to deal with is also very important. So we're also very pleased to have Ms. Quynh on the line from Vietcombank. So for those that are not aware, Vietcombank is actually the largest local bank, state-owned bank in Vietnam. And they also have a rep office in Singapore as well. So we're very pleased to have her come on to talk about some of the requirements in terms of setting up bank accounts, which is obviously very critical for companies. So Quynh, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Quynh. I'm representative of Vietcombank Kidong branch with over 13 years of experience at Vietcombank. Today, the subject I would say of how Vietcombank is empowering SMEs through our specialized banking services. Next slide, please. Let me begin with a quick introduction to Vietcombank. In Vietnam, Vietcombank is one of the most established and reputable banks in Vietnam with 62 years history. We are proud to be a leading innovator in banking sector, a market leader across multiple financial services, and a trusted partner for many global banks. Vietcombank also holds the highest rating by international credit rating institutions. In recent years, we have met the transformation strategic priorities. So with a strong foundation and a forward-looking mindset, Vietcombank is proud to be a reliable and innovative partner for FDI as well as SME. Yeah, in the limit time, we would share you 3 services. Please turn next slide, please. In the limit time today, we will share you 3 services we believe FDIs will be interested with current accounts, special accounts, and digital banking solutions. Next, please. For the purpose of deposit account with current accounts, usually for daily operations, fixed deposits will be used for savings, and escrow account often used in acquisition transaction with the trailer consultation and a fee waiver. We have a fee waiver policy available for escrow deal. For the account opening, we commit to own my customer to the same day account opening when the documents are qualified. And don't worry, we actively support clients during the preparation process. The most importantly, our service fee are among the most competitive and transparent into the market. We believe that to accompany and support our valued customer in the long run. To open the accounts, after understanding your request, we will send you the checklist for account opening. Then SMEs can only need to follow 2 simple steps. Number 1, provide essential legal documents, and number 2, complete our Vietcombank application form to register your information to use at Vietcombank. Just don't. So next slide, please. So what is essential legal documents required by Vietcombank? There will be the legal documents with compulsory documents will be ERC, company charter, and the passport or identity documents of the legal representative. The legal documents should be notarized, legalized, or translated into Vietnamese, or you can submit the original to be verified by us at Vietcombank counter. Next one, please. One highlight point, we want to let you update the law regulation with the biometric data collection required for the legal representative when open new account. The legal representative can do it, can collect the biometric data by our Vietcombank Digital Bank application or go visit our counters, and this law regulation will be applied from July 1st this year. Please So let's talk about the special accounts that support the investment and international financing. At Vietcombank, we offer direct investment capital accounts, as you know, DICA, indirect investment capital accounts, as known IICA, and the foreign borrowing and debt repayment account. Next, please. Firstly, I want to talk about the similarities and differences between DICA and IICA. About the similarities between them, both can be opened at only one bank, and the currency must be aligned with the currency of the investment. For the purpose, both used for the managing foreign investment capital, including you can see capital contributions, fund management, and foreign exchange transaction. About the differences of them, the DICA and IICA is about the number of accounts and the purpose. DICA is suitable for enterprise with the FDI, can open many accounts aligned with the currency registered in IRC. But IICA is designed for the foreign financial investor participates in Vietnam, in Vietnam's capital markets, including stock market, without direct business involvement, and only one account in Vietnam đồng currency. Next one, please. Next one, please. Oh, yeah. For the foreign borrowing account, you can open multiple accounts upon the short, medium, and long-term loans. Investment account and loan accounts are aligned with the State Bank Vietnam regulations and support the capital flows and foreign exchange. What makes Vietcombank stand out is our deep expertise in international payments and foreign exchange compliance. We regularly advise our clients on documentation and structure flows to comply with the laws. So whether you are managing capital, dividend distribution, or seeking finance, Vietcombank is here to ensure your transaction is compliant, efficient, and well supported. Further about the local loans, Vietcombank is also offer the domestic lending solution for SME. We have attractive lending policies now, especially after 68-degree solution. But usually the companies, the new company must have been in operation for at least 2 years for financing by Vietcombank. But the loan rate in Vietcombank is very attractive. So turn on. Here is the last part on of us how to support digital banking solution for SME, for FDI. Our e-banking solution includes automatic payment service for electric bills or tax, and 3 powerful platforms you see: DCBIS, iBanking, and CashUp. The ECBIS is the most simple and flexi. I think it's suitable for SME, and iBanking is great for international transfer with the business with many FX trade import and export. And the CashUp is the most modern advice platform of Vietcombank now, supporting up to 50 approval levels with salary payment function. Salaries keep it secure with the vendor payment in one platform. It's the address to many large corporates in Vietnam. Each one, next please. Each one is designed to each platform is designed to match the structure and complexity of your business in Vietnam. Next, please. Yeah, one more. I want to talk about the authentication option for digital solution. To keep your transaction safe, we offer the secure authentication methods for approval user. We have a smart OTP, a mobile app linked to Vietnamese phone number for approval user, and the hard token device for international use in approval the user not have phone number in Vietnam. Both are reliable, easy to use, and absolutely secure. That's all I want to say today. Next, please. If you like to learn more on this personalized support, please feel free to contact me throughout the contact detail on the screen. Vietcombank is looking forward to be your partner in the future. We are here to help the SME thrive with the service that are innovative, secure, and tailored to your business. I want to say one thing. After 68 conclusion, Vietcombank offer the free charge on DCBIS platform. We free transfer payment for transaction within Vietcombank and outside Vietcombank on and forever for the SME. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Quynh. I think the audience is very clear about the documentation that is needed, but my advice is, speak to Vietcombank for specific requirements, and you can also see that the digital journey that Vietcombank is trying to give its clients is really on the way. Everything is digital nowadays, and that's the situation in Vietnam, right? Everything is digital, and you can pay for everything using your phone nowadays. So I think that's where a lot of companies coming in from Singapore will benefit. So I want to thank, all the panelists today. I think it's been really great. And, just to give a very quick summary of what we've been hearing. One is obviously there are certain steps that need to be taken in order to start your business in Vietnam, from starting the company to understanding how to set it up, the documentations required, some of the legal aspects, some of the certificates. And obviously finding a good banking partner is very critical, because you don't want money to go in and out of the country smoothly, and also making payments to suppliers as you're doing your business. So I think bringing together Jack, Chung, and Quynh and Yvonne on this call is really beneficial to all of you that are listening in. And we will be starting a Q&A session. But first, we want to just show the contact details from our panelists, so that you can actually take a quick camera shot. And if there are any follow-up questions after the webinar, because we won't be able to cover all the questions that have been coming in, please do feel free to connect with them using those contacts. So Tao, can we put up that slide on the contact just for a second? So what I would suggest is probably just take a screenshot of the email addresses, right? I'll give you all a couple of seconds to do that before we move into the Q&A. Okay, Tao, I think we are good. We can move into the first question. Okay, so we're going to take the Q&A in two parts. I think there were a lot of pre-webinar questions that came in, and we've selected 3 questions, which we have, assigned to some of the panelists, and, hopefully they can give you some brief answer. You can, of course, follow up with them for more detail after that. I think they maybe have covered it in some of their slides. But the first question that came up pre-webinar was relating to the key steps and requirements to start a business in Vietnam if you are a foreign investor. So I would like to hand that over to Jack from InCorp to share some insight on that. Over to you, Jack.
Yeah, thanks, Raymond. And thank you for the question one. I think I covered a part of this in my presentation. As I said, Vietnam is open for business, and you can pretty well open any business that's not illegal in Vietnam right now. But the key steps to do is make sure you work with a good service provider to help you navigate with the Vietnamese application and requirements, and make sure if you're already operating that business in your home country, it should be easier. Just make sure you have all your documents ready, whether it's your business license from your home country, passport, whatever, and work with the service provider to go through the application process. So that's I think that's the key step. It's working with service provider. I mean, you can try to do it yourself, but it's very difficult and challenging to do that in Vietnam. Just for a nominal, reasonable fee, you can navigate a lot of the minefields when investing in Vietnam. And secondly, if your business, whether it's trading or manufacturing, most of it should be covered under the WTO that Vietnam is a signatory to. So that should be almost an automatic approval for you to open a business in Vietnam. Some businesses will require a sub-license, depending on what the industry and what business it is. So you need to look into that as well, whether you need a sub-license or not. I don't know, anything else Jim wants to add?
Yeah, sure. Sort of working backwards. I totally agree with what Jack has just said. But just to reemphasize the point, I think it's good to work backwards in the sense that, what's it going to take for you to actually operate and get your revenue and pay tax, okay? And just using retail as an example, you want to set up a retail store. And then to Jack's point, and I did cover this earlier, we work backwards, the retail location, the retail license, the approvals needed. You work backwards, enterprise registration certificate, investment registration certificate. And you should do that kind of assessment for whatever business it is, okay? So you want to retail clothes, perfume, beauty care, that's fine. You want to retail pharmaceuticals, that's not fine, all right? So you do have to do a bit of a feasibility assessment. I know that some of you may have heard of workarounds around foreign investment ownership. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but suffice to say that after investment law, some people have put in structures that will, in a way, enable a foreign investor to be regarded as a domestic investor. I think the other thing I want to point out is location, location, location. Again, you can't just say, oh, set up a registered office under my address or Jack's Incorp's address, so to speak, in general. So you really need to be saying that, yeah, I want to do a manufacturing, I want to have a factory. Then you go and check out Bin Sung province or Dong Nai province. Yeah, I want to, set up a retail outlet in this shopping mall. Yes, go identify that location. So location is very important. I think one last thing just to add from a legal practical point of view, and I know that this is where Incorp does provide this service. You have to name a legal representative of the company in Vietnam, and this person has to be resident. It means living in Vietnam. And I know in some cases, not every foreign investor feels like that there's someone that he trusts particularly for that role. And so the law does allow for a legal rep, one to be onshore, one to be offshore, and you can bifurcate the powers. And I do believe that our friends here in Incorp can help with some of that.
Great, thanks, guys. I think just a follow on that. There's been some chatter about this translation requirement for documents on LinkedIn, and some people were opining that maybe Quynh can also kind of chime in on this. Like, banks can actually decide whether or not to accept English documents, for example. So I'm not sure whether that is incorporated in Resolution 68. Not sure if any of you can shed some light or share some insights into that translation of document issue. Yeah. Quynh, for the banks, or Chung, do you have any insight into this need for the
I know that 68 has already mentioned they're trying to make things a bit more streamlined and all that. In fact, there's ongoing dialogue right now with the Ministry of Finance. And indeed, they are trying to say things like, yeah, more online submissions, cut down the red tape. But as to language, I can take a second look. At this point, I don't see Resolution 68 touching that. I don't know whether.
Sure. Quynh, yeah, maybe does Vietcombank have something on that?
You mean the customer have a trouble with the translation process, right?
Yeah, so if the company is coming in from Singapore, and in Singapore all the documents are in English, right?
We require the legalized only translation if any, but usually we don't require because the English is the language is common language.
Okay, that's good as well. Great. Yeah. So I will move on to the second question that came in before the webinar, and this involves the IRC timing and processes, and how someone could potentially speed it up. So maybe Jack, you want to kind of comment on that?
Yeah. Remember, there's two key certificates you need to get to open a business in Vietnam. The first one's the IRC investment registered certificate, and the second one is ERC enterprise registered certificate. Think of it as the first one is more of like a business plan presentation. Second one is more of a formal process to get your business license. You need to be patient and build in the time frame to get your license when planning to open a business in Vietnam. Officially, they say it could be 2 to 4 weeks to get your IRC, the first document. Realistically, it could be longer than that. It could be up to 2 months. And then after that, once you get your IRC, then you can apply for the ERC, which could take another month or so. So you need to be patient and work in the time frame, 2 to 3 months, probably. And then could be longer if you need a sub license as well. So that's sort of the time frame and to set and then work backward to get the process started.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
I think that's an estimate, but please connect with Jack and his team if you want to discuss in detail. And I think the final question, which was asked pre-webinar and also I think asked on the chat, revolves around finding local partners or co-investors in Vietnam. So I would like Chung to take a stab at that, based on his experience on M&A and all the things that he's seen going on.
Very glad to, but may I just add one or two more points around the second question around practical
Sure, yeah.
to speed up licensing processes. I would say that as best as you can, try and do things in parallel, right? For example, as soon as you can, you try to identify, who is the investor. You might just say that, yeah, my Singapore company, of course. But I will also say that for MNCs, especially for big investments, they look more broadly, they look at double taxation agreements, or fits in their own supply chain, etc. And some might choose Netherlands or choose something else, okay? But whatever it is, try and settle on that. And then you can start to sort of get all the paperwork that you need for once you've identified the investor, okay? And this can all be done in parallel as you're looking at your future site. Again, if you're setting up a factory, you're going to spend at least maybe 2 months going around the country, maybe speaking with some of the real estate consultants. So just imagine if it takes you 2 months to go and identify a site, negotiate the land sublease contract, reservation contracts and deposits. And then after that, you start your process of, let me get up my paperwork together to talk about who I am and who the investor is, get it notarized, legalized, consularized. So just imagine we did all those things sequentially. It takes a lot of time. So again, the practical tip is, as best as you can, identify the different work streams and do it in parallel. Okay, now, so to this particular question about identifying partners, and I think I tied this in with somebody that talk about a med tech company looking at opportunities to expand into Vietnam. Okay, so partners is a broad word, right? You could be referring to a partner that's going to help you distribute your products. You could be looking at a joint venture partner you joint venture with to start a greenfield project. You could be, looking at a, existing company with a 10-year history, and maybe the founders looking to cash out. So obviously, there are a lot of considerations around that. I think most of us have gone through the dating game, so I don't have to tell you how difficult it is to find your partner in life, all right? So likewise, finding a business partner, no pretense, not easy. So I would just say that I think one good thing about Vietnam is that, the ability to connect, like what we're doing today. There is, you guys from SME, and then folks in Singapore from the Singapore Chambers. And then, of course, there's a whole lot of other intermediaries, consultants. I mean, myself, I'm a lawyer in a law firm. But we also try to identify and bring deals together. Just to be quite blunt, if my clients are not doing deals, I have nothing to do. Okay, I'm sure Jack and InCorp as well, having many years of experience in country, having a lot of personal networks, they are also able to say that, oh, what are you looking for? You're looking for someone to distribute this. You're kind of interested about the guys that's developing this project and all that. Let us know. The chances are, what's that, 6 degrees of separation or even less these days. 3 degrees perhaps, we can quite easily put you in touch with the right folks. And then to be up front, there are a lot of M&A intermediaries, and of course, if you're a bigger player, you can talk to the IBs. Again, there are a lot of people that have a lot of connections. So I think that's one thing good about Vietnam, is that ability to network, to connect is actually pretty good. Okay?
Yeah.
But also, sorry, Jack, just let me finish. Let me just touch on that thing. Okay, but just touching on that MedTech question, I think this is something that you can think about, all right? And we've talked to many investors and businesses over the years. Everything, of course, is business and commercial driven, okay? So if you think that Vietnam is interesting for your product and service, then it is quite common that initially you're still in Singapore, your stuff are made in Singapore, but you have a local distributor, okay, that will help you import, market, and sell the products. That's usually the starting point, okay? And at some point you say that, oh, let's set up a rep office in Vietnam. And I think Jack did touch on it. So that's usually the fastest, easiest market entry point. The rep office, fast. But of course, limited. What I always say is that rep office is like, eyes and ears on the ground, but no hands. So take a look, take a listen, talk to people, but you can't do the business and you can't take money, you can't take it out, okay? So that's a rep office. And then once you feel a bit more confident, committed, you feel that this is the market for you, this is the growth opportunity, then you think about setting up a company in Vietnam. But then, of course, then what does the company do, right? In some cases, maybe people are saying that, oh, let's manufacture in Vietnam. And who do I sell to? Half to domestic, half to export, right? Or you say that, look, my kind of products, they are high-end, they're whatever. So no, we're not going to manufacture these products in Vietnam. Instead, I want my products to be imported and distributed. So again, on healthcare, medical devices, maybe you get some of the contract to do it in Vietnam. Maybe you get a local distributor. Maybe at some point you set up your own manufacturing. And maybe, or a mix of all of it, you do the import and distribution of your medical device, okay? But I'll just add in one more two things. Again, devil's in the details, and if you're a regulated industry, you're probably used to it. Then around all of this regulatory assessment about medical device, product registrations, they have to announce the certificate of this and that, who's the MA holder. There's all this industry type of regulations will kick in. But I hope I've sort of addressed that question around, sort of finding partners, the time frame, the mindset in terms of how people enter Vietnam, and then maybe some things which are healthcare specific. Jack?
Yeah. Thanks, Jum. I mean, I want to add in, if there's one advice I can give to the businesses that want to enter the Vietnam market, if it's first time into the Vietnam market, please use not because we're a service provider, but using a service provider would ease a lot of anxiety and concerns in the first place. But secondly, not just that, but talk to friends who are already done business in Vietnam, or your network who's already in Vietnam. Gather as much information as you can, learn as much as you can, so you don't be surprised and you come into the market with a wide eye open. And the third thing and last thing is that, you may be familiar with doing business in Singapore, but Vietnam's a whole different animal, it's different market. So don't apply what you know or what you're used to in Singapore into Vietnam. Vietnam's a different country. So be open, be flexible, be patient. But it's a big market, it's a lot of potential. Whether it's F&B, trading, e-commerce, you can build a very successful business in Vietnam. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Jack and Chung. Really useful. We'll take one final question from the audience, and I think that relates. It's a two-part question actually. The first part relates to moving money from Vietnam outside. So I think probably Quynh can comment. And the question is that it's very challenging to move money. How do they ensure that this can be done smoothly, right? And I think there's also a question on corporate tax duplication. I think there is a double taxation agreement between Singapore and Vietnam, but maybe Jack can comment on that. So Quynh, maybe can you share your experience in terms of FDIs trying to send money out of Vietnam, maybe dividends or payment to suppliers? Is it very difficult?
I have a process many transactions to transfer the money outside Vietnam for different distribution. Basically, it's easier than the investment amount outside. The key point is the customer in Vietnam complete the tax application to the government. You can transfer. Yeah, so I don't let me contact with Miss Tuyên, so understand her case, her concern, and we will advise the solution in that case.
Sure, thank you, Quynh. Jack,
Yeah.
Anything on the corporate tax duplication thing? Obviously, the DTA, I'm not sure if that helps, or is that only for the individuals?
Yeah, I think that's for individual. I'm not sure on the corporate side. Maybe June knows. I'm sorry. Between Vietnam and Singapore, I don't know what the tax deal is.
Yeah, I'll chime in a bit on that. And after this, I'm happy to sort of share a bit more information. So yes, there is double taxation agreements between Singapore and Vietnam. I don't have the details off the top of my head, but essentially, for example, cross-border services into Vietnam, there's a VAT and a CIT element, and one of them would be could be waived, so long as I think certain taxes paid in Vietnam. So the short answer is that there is a DTA. Again, I don't have the details in my head, but we can share it after. But I think I just want to add back to the question on sort of Forex and all that. Of course, Ms. Quynh and Vietcombank do this every day, so they're very confident. And maybe it sounds like, just pretty normal procedural stuff. But I think it's also good actually to remind folks that indeed Vietnam has very robust Forex rules, okay? And just to say that even from an FDI or M&A point of view, a lot of deference and weight is put into how the capital comes in. You need to do a direct investment capital account. And then after the deal is done, money has to go through out that same account. The rules around loans, certain loans have to be registered, use of the proceeds. So it is pretty robust. But of course, to Ms. Quynh's point, so long as you're aware and you can show compliance with all these requirements, then yes, the banks ought to be processing your transactions.
Sure. Thanks, Chung and Quynh. We've come to the end of the webinar. I really want to thank all the panelists who have, spent a lot of time preparing the information and presenting and also answering the questions. But a big shout out also to the participants who have taken the time to attend. We hope that it's been very useful in terms of finding out what you need to do to expand into Vietnam and some of the challenges, right? We wanted to be realistic as well and not tell you that it's super easy. But I think the takeaway from this webinar is, finding a trusted partner to work with, right? Whether it's a corporate services company, a law firm, or a bank, these are very critical partners that you need to kickstart your journey as you grow your business in Vietnam. So we will show the contact details again to all of you if you did not have the chance to take a screenshot earlier, so that you can connect with the panelists. So Tao, can we put up that slide with the details? Thank you. So as all of you are, taking the photo or taking a screenshot, please note that we will be sending out the slides to all of the participants. So don't worry if you have been scribbling down some of the stuff. These will be sent to all of you in due course. And again, we want to thank everyone on this call for participating. We wish you a good afternoon ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.